Hello, hello. Welcome back, everyone. As you all know by now, I am Jennifer Bulbrook with I Am Somebody, and this is my co-host, Isabel Bradburn Jackson with Dear Divine Goddess. And we're putting together this docu-series called Lost Souls Initiative, where we're taking people's stories and sharing them with the world. And I know you've heard my spew over and over again, so I'm going to kind of make it short today and just introduce our lovely guest, Judy. Welcome, Judy. We are so happy to have you here and appreciate you coming on to talk to us with respect to your story and your perspective on things.
Thank you so much for even allowing this conversation to happen and sharing knowledge. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really value you.
Let's start off with telling the viewers a little bit about yourself and what you're doing. Because I know I haven't had a chance to really talk with you, but I know you and Isabel got to talk and chat yesterday for quite some time. So she got to hear about some of the immaculate things that you're doing, like you are walking and stuff. So please
She's
share.
currently on the walk. So we're lucky to even get this interview right now. Like today's one of her down days. So we caught her at the right time because she's in the process of her walk.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Please tell us.
Um okay. I seen this COVID event coming. I was isolating on the island because government had made my perspective of reality basically a hate crime. So I couldn't talk or communicate with anybody because people thought I was batshit crazy. When if you're predicting this COVID event prior to COVID, so after COVID arrives, I got cancer January 2020, and I have a very healthy distrust of doctors because I am on a long-term disability because they say I'm delusional. Uh, there's a long list of mental health labels that they have given me that has discredited my perspective of reality. And they have no understanding of what they're doing. So my education, I'm going to be all over the place. And one of the diagnoses is like schizophrenia, where you're all over the place. So I'm trying to connect the dots with a lot of different pieces. I'm on a long-term disability because I've been predicting this stuff. The diagnosis that they gave me, where they had no understanding of what's going on, but I know what's going on in my brain. I also am educated in system design and logical thinking. So when you give me a problem, I logically will solve the problem, not suffer from the problem. So in seeing this and being on a long-term disability, I had been researching solutions and found the science that this guy's been curing every mental illness fast without a drug. Same with addictions. Like, he's got a phenomenal piece of work. Um, so that's where as soon as COVID comes, I was isolated. I'm now finding my people. Now I don't look so crazy anymore. And I'm meeting people on the island. I ended up moving out to Alberta to help my kids through it. They lost everything, and the convoy started. I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to share my perspective, but I was quickly always turned down and not allowed a voice. So when the opportunity came that, my help wasn't needed and I had time to myself now, instead of finding my own apartment, I decided to walk across Canada and hopefully start a conversation on peace tables, because it doesn't matter whether we have any great ideas. If we don't know how to communicate with each other, no great idea will ever take off. So it has to start with, we have to learn how to communicate. I not a writer by any means, but I got Chat AI to formulate a book with all of the research I've done. So I've called the book Be the Master of the Game Peace Tables, which I offered a free download on the website. On the website's the globalpeacetrain.com. I also went on the Dragon's Den prior to COVID. I didn't want them as business partners because I'm totally against that greed mentality, but I went on there to get free publicity. So, because as long as you're putting that energy out there, it will build. So I ended up being on the nut bar of the season. So they used my presentation as the commercial for the show. They replayed it over and over again for years. Maclean's magazine judged it to be the top nut bar idea ever presented on the Dragon's Den. And remember the guy that is judging me to be a nut bar idea, he also believes poverty is a good thing. So him judging something to be a nut bar idea might be a good thing that we should be looking at. So it's called Bottled Intentions. It's in this book, Be the Master of the Game. I put in a lot of tools to help with our mental health, because I figured we're going to need control of our what we think about during these times. So that's what I'm doing. I've walked all across BC so far. I started in Victoria, mile 0, and walked up to Nanaimo, took the ferry to Horseshoe Bay, and walked from Horseshoe Bay to just between Lake Louise and Banff. So it's been a journey.
Wow, I'd say that's amazing. That's incredible. And how long have you been doing this?
Mother's Day. I left Mother's Day.
Wow. That's
and
amazing.
The night before Mother's Day, I had my tent set up where all of the homeless and there was crack addicts right smoking crack right outside my tent the night before I took off. So prior to this, years ago, I was homeless in Calgary for 2 years. So I know what's going on more than most people, especially when you're looking at it from a system perspective and you are the victim of these systems. These are not helping. These are helping to make somebody get rich off of ensuring that. Anyways, I have a lot of opinions about what's going on.
Yeah, and I want to hear them. I do want to ask though, you had first talked and mentioned that you were able to, I guess you've studied or learned some tools or some, I don't know what it was, through some guy that helped with like mental health and addictions and that. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Oh, okay. This is okay. When I was diagnosed, when they, basically gave me a long list of illnesses, I'm seeing something completely different than what they're seeing. So I now know I've got to prove scientifically my perspective of reality. And I had gotten a download of information, like similar to the Matrix. It's really, really wild of what happened. But I got all of this information. I describe it as every university course without contradictions. So now I know the science exists because I see it. It flashed through my head. I know it exists. I just have to now find the print, the actual science that's out there. So when I was doing my research, I wasn't looking to try and discover something new for me. I was trying to find something that helps prove what I'm trying to prove. And this guy's theory is called holodynamics. It claims to be a tool that can solve every problem known to the human experience. I am a critic. If you want to know my biggest, strongest, I will criticize everything. As soon as somebody says this is, the best tool, I call BS right away. And so I'm looking at his body of work through yeah, right guy. And I am seeing that he's not following his own advice, but his advice is spot on. I cannot find any contradictions with his body of work. He has been curing every mental illness fast without drugs. He has wiped out addictions in a town. He had set up a test study and ran a very, very successful thing with that. He's put on these peace tables. He was asked to, when Russia was in a war mentality transforming to a peace mentality, they got him, this author, to come in and rearrange their government structures. Now, I'm not a fan of the author. He doesn't follow his own advice, and he doesn't like to communicate. One of the biggest things he says is, the person that's opposing your view is your teacher. They're showing you something you don't see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've tried having a conversation. I've picked up the phone and had conversations with this guy, and he refuses to, he does not want to have a conversation with me because I question, why he's not following his own advice. And it's like, click, he's hanging up the phone on me. And it's like, what did I do wrong? And he's treating me like I'm an enemy of some kind just because I'm questioning his body of work, which I'm his biggest fan of. So because it can't identify the unknown problem, I say question the author. The material is sound. It's amazing stuff that should be discussed because it's amazing. And what he's doing is connecting the dots between our systems and how it's creating the environment that we're all responding to. So if we're creating a toxic environment, we will develop cancers. And back in the day, when a cluster of cancers came up, we started looking for what's causing it. But today we don't do that. And the same thing applies with mental illness, that if you're having a toxic mental environment, you will respond in a normal, healthy way, but our medical system will judge it to be not healthy because you're supposed to enjoy this toxic environment. I don't know. I might be rambling right now.
No, it's interesting.
What you're saying.
Yeah, it's interesting. I definitely would like to check out his work and see a little bit more of what it is we're talking about, and that definitely like to look into it. So thank you for sharing that. So you said that you were diagnosed with lots of different things, and I too have been diagnosed with like everything under the sun that you can think of. And I don't agree with any of my diagnoses. And I feel like it's just a let's label you this to give you medication to shut you up and move you on. It's like a band-aid effect, I find. I think that a lot of people who are labeled and who are diagnosed with a mental health, whether it's depression, anxiety, bipolar, are diagnosed wrong. I don't even think some of these diagnoses are even true to be real, to be honest. I think it's just people not wanting to deal with their feelings, and the doctors and stuff just saying, okay, like let's call it depression then. You know, you're sad, so we're gonna call it depression because you're sad for more than 3 days. When really, let's look at some things. People were so quick to give me diagnosis, but never really asked me what was going on in my life and what I was taking in. And so once I was able to kind of look at like some of the things in my life that I thought I had no control over, which was causing me depression, I realized I had control over it. And guess what? My depression was gone. And I'm not on any medication. And I'm not, and same with my anxiety and my bipolar and my, like, you name it, I was diagnosed with it. And I'm on no medication. And I know a lot of people are like that. And I know it's with a lot of it was with the work I learned, which is a lot of people disagree with. And that is, you know, it's not circumstances and people that are causing us to feel any way. It's coming from within. And that includes like if my, you know, my dad died and people will say like, that's a sad thing. And that's what's making you sad. Right. But no, it's not. Right. Because there's sometimes where I feel relief over that same situation. And it's not the situation or the circumstance that changed, but it's my thoughts about it. So that's my little ramble. I'm like you, Judy. I'm all over the place too. So don't worry about it.
I do think though, we are creating a toxic environment. So I do think that we can point a finger and say, you know, this outside of myself is causing me to respond the way I'm responding. Now we have an option of how we want to respond to it though, because we could choose to be the victim of something, or we could choose to be the victor of something. And so blaming, you know, this toxic environment, you know, although will be true, does it serve you to be the victim of that? Do you know what I mean? So I do think I would like to honor, you know, victims are victims of something. And like first, in order to get past I'm a victim of something, we've got to acknowledge something bad is going on, you know, and I want to honor that. If you, you know, if you are suffering from any form of somebody labeled you with a mental illness, you are responding to something that is really big, bad, and evil in your life outside of yourself. And you have a right to feel bad about it. But you also have to recognize that you are the only one that's going to save yourself from that big bad thing that's out there. And that big bad thing also provides a solution. And that solution is born the exact same time that problem is born. And you could choose to look at the solution or you could look at the problem. Every solution you cannot get to without first experiencing the problem. But it's a matter of how long do you want to experience that problem for? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have when I work with my clients and I give them my number, you know, you can call me, you can message me if you need me. And always say to them, but don't message me with a problem, message me with a solution. And even if that, you know, it maybe not be the right solution, but as long as I know you're thinking of a solution and not just the problem, then I'm like more than willing to help you out. And I think that should be the way. I hate using the word should, but that's the way I like to try and live my life was if I see a problem, well, what's the solution? And try and look at it that way.
Yeah, I don't know, I was born on Christmas Eve, told I was the child of God, into a Catholic family of teenage girls that all wanted to hang on to this new baby. So, and then like after 3 years my brother was born, so I was experienced a lot of abuse after that. And after that I the song Hey Jude comes out, and it's the influence of turning a problem into a solution. So it's like the first years of my life showed me what being treated with respect and love and everything. I seen what that was like in my life, and then I seen what it was like to be treated like freaking dirt. And then I had this influence from a freaking song that suggested life's about turning a problem into a solution. Turning a sad song into something better. It's funny how just a simple song can change your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like you never know what's around the corner, what will change, what is the next thing that's going to change. And that's why I like to tell people like don't ever give up because you just never know what's around the corner. And it could be something as simple as listening to a song.
I like if we want to talk about some miracles, like I would love to talk with you girls about a lot of tools. Like I'd like to be productive as possible, but sharing this one miracle story of what possibilities are. I was trying to leave this abusive marriage, and I was a stay-at-home mom for 20 years to 4 kids. And I was trying to get a job, and nobody was hiring me. So my ex was painting hard hats in the oil field and was making extra money. So I was artistic. I thought I could do that too. So we ended up getting 2 really cheap airbrushes at Walmart. And I started to do my first hard hat. And in the meantime, I had these religious people that wanted to come and talk to me, and then they were bugging me for years and years. And I said, okay, fine, I'll talk to you, but I'm going to be painting if you don't mind. So they said, fine, no problem. They came in. I'm doing my first painting. I'm having my conversation about their religion. And as soon as they left, this airbrush breaks. My painting was done, but the airbrush broke. And I had the opportunity, to make the story short, to say, poor me, nothing ever works. Or I could have said, I said, God's mailing me an airbrush. So I just decided to have some fun. And I was telling everybody that God's mailing me an airbrush all week. I'm opening my door as if that airbrush arrived. I'm having so much fun. It was so much better to tell that story and live in that reality than here I did try again and it didn't work out, and hopeless, helpless reality. So then a week later, these religious people come back and they ask me, what's your connection with God? And I said, well, he's mailing me an airbrush. I've been saying that for a week. And they said, well, that's not how God works. You've got to get a job, save your money, and buy your own airbrush. And I said, well, that's your connection with God. My connection with God, he's just mailing me an airbrush. Within a week, I had an airbrush mailed to me.
I love it.
I know, like anything can happen. I have story after story of these godlike things that as soon as you sort of let God, and like go with the flow of the chaos, that's where every miracle I've ever experienced occurs. I've never ever experienced a miracle when things were in order.
Yeah.
But you have to have the right mentality. You have to, if you're in the negative, suffering, you're going to create more of that.
Yeah. And that's all you're going to see, right? People don't realize, like, in any situation, all situations, anything, whether it's a death, whether it's murder, whether it's anything, it's a neutral circumstance. And you can look at the good and you can look at the bad out of all things. And it's up to you to choose on what you want to focus on. And so many of us focus on the bad because it's just easier for us, because it's usually what, it's for me, like depression, for feeling sad, it became a habit. And so then it was like, how do I feel joy? How do I feel excited? It's like, and then when I was feeling those feelings, it was like, oh, these are uncomfortable for me because I haven't felt them for so long. But it's like any situation that you look at, you can look at the good, you can look at the bad, look at the 360-degree angle of it all, and you will find whatever you want to find. Whatever you look for, you'll find. And it's just up to you on what you want to focus on, right?
I believe that you have to release everything that is no longer serving you. in order for good things and good opportunities to come into your life. You know what I mean? So if we're holding on to all of those negative feelings or those emotions, those grief, whatever it is, we're not opening ourselves up for our blessings. So essentially we are blocking our own blessings, right? So we
Well,
definitely have to
those
move through
those
this.
things from my view, like my perspective only,
Yeah.
on what you are not letting go of, look at it as a gift. Okay. And you're choosing not to open up that box that's offering you a gift, because without that problem, you can't have the gift, and that gift is the solution. So it's almost like you're scared to open that box, but that box offers you a gift. But that box came into your life with a negative feeling. So we look at that as being a negative. And yet, most negative things that happen in our lives are stop signs that are saying you just need a different direction in your life.
I
And and
agree.
and because you're changing direction, it feels negative. So you're gonna avoid opening that box of everything you want.
I also
I
No,
think
don't know
I
too,
why people
though,
are so scared to go there, but
I think too, though, people are so afraid to feel uncomfortable that they don't open the box or they'll just shut the box. And they're like, I don't want to go there because it's uncomfortable, but they're not really looking at the bigger picture. And two, I noticed like we just automatically believe what we think, right? Like we're humans, and us as humans, we just automatically think we're right. And so therefore, if we think something, we're right. And the other day I did a post about this. Someone asked to take my picture. And right away, my response was like, no way, I hate my picture being taken. And I didn't even have that out of my mouth when I realized, like, that's not even true. Like, I'm totally lying to this guy and I'm lying to myself right now, because at one point that was true. I hated my picture being taken. But now it's like, it's not true. I don't mind my picture being taken. I'm good with it. Sometimes I actually really think I look great. And so I'm like, bring it on, take my picture. But because I just like, it's a habit of me thinking that and believing that. And I didn't really look at that thought lately, that it was just something I was carrying with me, that I don't like my picture taken. And so even though I don't believe it anymore, and I didn't believe it anymore, I was still carrying it around with me and believing it until I finally let it out. And I was like, wait a minute, that's another thought that needs to go. Like, that's just a thought, right? And I think that happens with a lot of us. We get so used to thinking certain things, and they may be true and they may be serving us at one point, but now are they serving us and are they true for us now? And no, majority of the time we're not re-looking at those things that we should be looking at, if that makes sense.
that's no 100%. That's I think what's helped me keep my sanity is constantly being aware of every single thought I have in my head. And if it's, you know, the repeating thoughts are the ones that are creating your reality. So you want to be aware of every single repeating thought that you are saying over and over and over and over again in your head. And that thought, if you're not in the I'm loving my life 100%, that thought needs to be looked at and changed. And it will always be a thought of limitations, and there will always be a truth that you can turn it around into it being unlimited of something. And even if you can't see it, just asking the questions, in how many ways can I say something positive about that situation? When you're asking an open-ended question, in how many ways can I find a way to see this positively, you will get things in your intuition and think you'll just get a good idea. And then you're replaying a different story, because it is a choice of what you want to say. And life is all about stories, and They're nothing but stories you believe to be true, but they're all friggin' bullshit stories. Every one of us are telling bullshit stories.
Yeah.
If we're going to tell bullshit stories, why not tell something that serves you
Yeah.
and serves your world that you live in?
Yeah.
I tell myself all the time with any kind of negative experience or anything that kind of happens to me, it's not happening to me, it's happening for me, because it's either a lesson or a blessing.
Right. And that right there just shows it's not even the situation that's is good or bad, right? It's the way we look at it. And that goes for everything. And so just really, I have to really remind myself, like, you know, when someone passes away or like when somebody's calling me a bitch or whatever the case may be, I have to remind myself, like, that's just something neutral. Like, it's how I want to look at it. Like, that has no bearing, because the way I look at one thing, the way you look at one thing, and the way Judy looks at one thing, all the same situation, but we all have different stories about it. It's like when you grow up in a house with
Different
like
perception.
siblings, we all grew up in the same house. We all, you know, lived the same way, but we all have a different story and a different experience, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think people just have to be more aware of that. And like you said, Judy, be aware of the thoughts that are going on in your mind, because that's what's having you feel and giving you the drive to act and giving you the results you're getting is all based on those thoughts that you're having and the beliefs that you have.
That's what this bottled intentions is all about. This is what I think saved my life. And anybody can use it. It's a free idea. It's about getting 6 different water bottles or 6 different cups or something that's 6 different that you could put these intentions on. And you use every time you go, because every human needs to drink something during the day, you're using what you drink to help you pay attention to what it is you're thinking about. Now, these 6 intentions, I hope I can remember them all. If you're lacking the feeling, these intentions are not about thinking positive, it's about feeling. Because when you're feeling something, you're creating the peptides and proteins. You're changing the chemistry in your body when you're intentionally trying to feel something. So when you go and take a drink, you want to feel these intentions. One of them is love and happiness. If you're suffering from depression, feeling love and happiness is not going to be an easy thing to do. But you will get out of your depression if you even try for a second to feel what it feels like to feel love and happiness. It's listen to a song or try and remember a time when you did feel it, but just go for even 1 second. And if you can see that you can control your brain when you're depressed to feel love and happiness for 1 second, you are getting control of your brain. And you could do it for, if you could do it for 1 second, you could do it for 2 seconds. So that's how the theory works. The next one is alignment and harmony. Now, when you're having a challenge, you will always think that you're connected with the right people at the right time to make hell on earth for you. You can choose to see that and you will create that, or you can see that you're in perfect alignment for the people to create the perfect heaven on earth for you. If you see that in other people. So it's a choice of what you want to see. So when you're drinking this water, it is a reminder of how am I viewing people? Am I viewing them as my enemy or am I viewing them as my connections? Another one is confidence and certainty. If you're lacking confidence and certainty, you're creating a hell. If you're full of confidence, that's when you're a creator. That's when you're pulling yourself out. Gratitude and humanity. That's another one. You cannot, when a problem shows up, you have to be grateful for the problem to be able to see the solution. If you're not grateful for that problem, you're stuck in a negative state of mind. And in a negative state of mind, you're never going to find a positive solution, because you need to find a positive solution. You have to be in a positive state of mind. I don't know. Have I said all 6 of them? There's 6 of them. They were on the Dragon's Den. That's what they said is a nut bar idea.
I actually really like that idea, to be honest. I
Right?
think that, especially nowadays, I think that that's an idea that a lot of people would take up for. And I think whoever told you it was a nut bar idea is probably kicking themselves in the ass right now, because right now in this day and age where the self-help and everything is so big, I think that would be really something that would
That's
hit the shelves.
Maclean's magazine labeled that as the top nut bar idea ever presented on the Dragon's Den. And it's Kevin O'Leary, the guy who says poverty is a good thing. He thinks this is a nut bar idea. So it was like the nut bar of the season. They replayed it. They did a full story in Maclean's magazine. I only went there for free publicity. So tell me it doesn't attract what you want, because
Yeah.
I didn't care. Like, to me, him saying it's a nut bar idea and what he stands for, it's a compliment.
Yeah.
Oh, for
You know,
sure.
like where it's coming from. So that's how I took it. And the fact that they replayed it over and over again, now it's in the ethers. It's not a strange idea because people have it in their subconscious because it's been out there for like over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. So I guess I want to ask you a little bit about like your walk, and what are some of the things you've experienced on your walk since you began?
Oh, the people, the conversations are amazing. A lot of people think I'm homeless. Like it does look like I'm homeless because I'm pushing a cart. And so they look at me weird, and I tell them I'm walking across Canada, and then they sort of stop, and I ask them if they want to see a card and can I explain what I'm doing, and the conversations from there are amazing. People, no matter what side of the political fence, what I've been saying really short is we're Canadians, we're peacekeepers, and we're getting a little too divided. And I'm trying to introduce the idea of peace tables where we can improve our communication and turn our problems into solutions without a compromise. And I want to bring up the conversation of mental health, and everybody is loving the idea. Like a lot of these conversations are personal. A lot of them are, people that were suicidal and they really want this conversation to go on. I don't film any of those. Um, so people just have to believe that it's happening. Every once in a while, somebody doesn't mind being on camera, so I'll put them on, but um it's definitely the conversations and what people are like in person are completely different than online.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What do you think is
And I agree on
surprising
this
you most on
board.
this walk?
That I could do it. Like, those mountains are big and they were scary and they were bridges, and I got a phobia of bridges, and I didn't see any wildlife. Like, um, that's like I knew I could do it, but when you actually see it and do it, it surprised me that I've driven those roads before. I knew what those mountains were. I was scared to death because I knew they were going to be big. But I guess it surprised me.
Let me ask you this. You were scared to death and you knew you could do it, but a little bit of doubt as well. What helped you do it? What helped you get through it?
Oh, the future of my grandchildren. Like, if I'm sitting at home and doing nothing, like, no, this is a do or die mission. Like, the future depends on us doing something. And then if I'm injured, I got my injury now. What gets me past that is I have been homeless. I have seen people that have bigger injuries than me, where our medical system is not looking after them and they have no housing. And how are they living? So I embody myself as somebody that is homeless, that's in worse physical shape, and they have to keep up walking. So how are they walking? So that's what kind of gives me the energy to do it, is I just put myself in their shoes and walk for them. I like, it is a walk for them. I want to represent that not only is this happening to them, but it's going to happen to all of us if we don't learn how to communicate.
Yeah, and like I was saying before is like, well, not before like today, but before and another day, like mental health, addictions, people suffering, that happens to anybody. Like it doesn't discriminate. You could be rich and then now you're living on the street. You could be, so healthy and now you're sick with, whether it's some kind of addiction or cancer or whatever the case may be. Like you just never know. And I think people have to realize that instead of judging one another, we need to have more compassion and curiosity and just really open up your hearts and be like, well, this could be our mother, our sister, our brother, whoever. And when we're so down and out and having our pity party on ourselves, really looking at like there are people out there who are homeless, who are sick with cancer, who are suffering, and then just take back, the gratitude that we have with the lives that we are living, right?
To me, I see that those that have their house and that they're comfortable, and judging somebody that's homeless, and they are the really nice helping people that they want to create affordable housing, they are the new homeless, and they don't see it coming.
Yeah.
They refuse to see the causes that are creating the problem. And as long as they don't want to see the causes and they want to blame, oh, it's your bad decision. Well, yeah, it is. I'll go with that. I was homeless. I'm homeless because of my poor decision. But my poor decision is the same poor decision that people that have a house and they're comfortable, they're making the same poor decision that got me homeless. So
Mm-hmm.
they need to have the conversation with people that are poor, because people that are poor know there's a problem. People that are watching and judging, they don't even recognize a problem exists.
Yeah.
So you are not the one with the answers, but there is a mentality within the homeless that are identical to the top, and like hoarding, the rich hoard, the poor hoard. And the poor want to stay poor and the rich want to stay rich. Like we've got to get them out of their comfort zone, because there is a victim mentality, and the only way they can survive is by being a victim in these systems. These systems are designed in a way that the only way you can survive it is by being a victim. So they got to get out of that victim mentality. And the questions that are asked of people that are homeless needs to be changed. Some of the questions that were asked is, what do you need? And like they paid everybody in the room $50 to ask, homeless people what you need. And it's like, that's a $1 trillion question. Where a smarter question is what caused you to be homeless and what would you do to prevent it? Now you're collecting data of how you prevent it from happening to other people. Now your $50 that you're paying to get information from homeless is worth it. But we're not asking the right questions.
What are some of the questions you think we should ask? Because I agree with you. I think we're asking the wrong questions and to the wrong people. I think we need to go to the people who are homeless or who are, dealing with depression or addictions or whatever, and talk to them about what it is that's number one, what got them there, and I think the question of what they need needs to be addressed too, but I think that we need to make it not so broad. You know what I mean? Like, we know what they need. They need a house, they need a job. Like, we know what they need, but how do we help them get there is the
Yeah,
question we need to be asking.
it's
Yeah, what are the barriers?
it is it every one of our systems are designed to cause and create everybody to be homeless. Like this agenda of you will own nothing and you will be happy, that has been in play since they created Magna Carta. And it's just, it starts with lower class and then it affects middle class and now it's coming for upper class. It's all of our man-made systems are designed to create the environment that causes all of the social problems that we're having. So if you wanted to end it, we have to redesign these systems that we live in. And these systems that we live in are crashing anyways. We need a new economic system with a new value system. When we see homeless, now we're seeing, like, we're looking at things through the lens of where's the profit, and so we're seeing a bunch of people that are homeless. We're going to create a social problem, like a new industry out of it. So we're going to create a new university courses so people can learn how to service this new problem. Now these people in this helping industry are dependent on that social problem existing for them to get their paycheck. So there's no motive to end the problem when your paycheck is dependent on that problem existing. So can you connect the dots of how our economy is dependent on all social problems existing? And there's no motivation to end it, otherwise you're ending your job. So the only way to solve that is by having a new economic system in a new value system where we value, a healthy reality, not an unhealthy one, in my opinion. And I think it's simple. I don't think it's a hard thing.
Yeah, I actually really agree with you. And I was actually just talking about this the other day, was that it's, we go in and we need help. We ask for help, or somebody that we know is saying that, this person needs help or whatever the case may be. And there's times where we get denied because we're not sick enough, we're not severe enough, we're not in crisis enough. And so we have to wait until we're in crisis or until we're in more severe need of a service. And what they've done is they've developed these services that are in crisis, right? So now we have these crisis services to deal with the people who are in crisis, when what we could have done was deal with the people who are in crisis before they got to crisis and just trained everybody to be in crisis. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's exactly what you're saying, though.
Cure, and that is exactly
It's like passing the buck. Like, if I go to somebody, to like a psychiatrist or to a doctor, and I say, look, I need some help, and they're gonna tell me, well, you have to wait a year to go see help because you're not ready to kill yourself today, is fucking ridiculous to me. And what happens is then I'm now 6 months from now, I'm now wanting to kill myself. But guess what? Now that service is available to me. That service was available to me whether I was going to kill myself or not. You just chose not to give it to me. And that, to me, is neglect. And our mental health system has been neglecting us for many fucking years, because there are services out there that you won't let us use because we're not severe enough. I had a friend reach out to me. He was severely depressed, wanting, and he couldn't get help. And then he said, like, I want to kill myself. And he had a plan to do it. And I called 911. I got them over there. And guess what? Now he has he has help. And it's like that help wasn't available at 9 p.m., but the help was available at 11 p.m. because now he's saying he needs to kill himself. Why is that? Why does that need to happen? We need to be stepping in as soon as somebody says, I need help. Okay, let's see how we can help you, not wait and say, well, you're not in crisis enough. That to me is just bullshit. And that to me is where the system is neglecting us as humans. They don't see us as humans, they see us as a paycheck.
Because it's a system that it's not concerned with your health. It's concerned with the money and how much money it can make, causing you to be sick. So to even look at it or judge it as a place that, well, I just am confused why you would even expect help from that industry. Because, and on top of it, this is a different way of looking at it. If all of our systems are designed to result dysfunctional behavior, when you go and see a mental health professional, they're trying to make you fit within those systems. You're mentally ill because you don't fit within those systems. That's their guide. Are we there?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too that we need to relook at the guide that they have out there for each of these things, because
Exactly.
like I said, like there's times where people are like, yeah, I've been diagnosed with this, and they tell me what it is, and I'm going, well, it sounds to me like, it's like, especially with kids, like, oh, my kid's got ADHD, I got to get them on some medication, blah blah blah. Why? What is your kid doing? They tell me what their kid's doing, I'm like, that's a kid. He's acting like a kid. Like, your kid doesn't need nothing. He doesn't need doesn't need a diagnosis. He needs to be left and let him be a kid. And I think that happens with so many things that are going on with especially the mental health system. We just get diagnosed, we get pills thrown at us. It's like a hush hush. How do we profit from it? How do we, and we're not looked at as humans. And I
This
think they made that clear when they decided to make the new rule where you can now, they'll assist you in killing yourself. Like,
yeah.
that's just fucking bizarre to me. Absolutely bizarre.
This hollow dynamics theory, it can cure every mental illness fast without drugs. It's definitely worth taking a look at. That the cure ends up, to sustain your cure to any mental illness would mean a change of these systems, because these systems are what's causing the mental illness. That once you see what you need to change, your now life passion, once you see your life passion, like this science taps you into your answer, it taps you into your purpose of why your problem is there and why it's a gift for you and what you're supposed to do with it. And once you see your life passion, there's no stopping you. It's the same thing as my walk. You cannot stop your passion. And when you have that level of passion towards your solution, you're creating a new world. Like, if everybody's doing it all at the same time, the world will change real fast.
Yeah. Yeah. And I even said the other day, I said, why don't we all just, everybody who lives, like, who has a house or apartment, everybody take $1 out of your fucking wallet and put it in the pot. And if we did that just in Hamilton alone, we would have how much money in the pot? And then we, like, obviously we would have to do it. We couldn't give it to the government because the government would blow the money, but we help the people who are homeless in that, right? Like, it's just $1 for every single person. You would have something to start with instead of this, like, let's just sit on our thumbs and, like, have all this excuses for why we're not getting anywhere closer to where we need to be with the solution. So where are you now with your walk?
I'm in Innisfail. I've been here a few days. I have a leg injury, and I, like, completely was not mobile when I got off the road between Lake Louise and Banff. And I stayed at a host, Cheryl's. She was amazing. I stayed there for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. And I really could not stand, could not walk, could not do anything. And within a few weeks, I was able to move again. I walked down from Sylvan Lake to Red Deer and stayed there for a few days and rested the leg a bit more there. And then I walked 2 days to Innisville. And one day the leg was like perfect. And then for some reason it's back up. So I am tomorrow. I was going to leave tomorrow, but it says that it's supposed to be 34 degrees tomorrow. So, and I did get heat stroke coming to Innisfail too. Not bad, but enough that I'm not going to do that again at 34. So I think I'll probably be back on the road. Maybe not tomorrow, but the day after, heading towards Calgary. And it's got to be something that has to evolve into something different. So far, it's sort of been a walk that people are just sort of looking at, but not really. There's no conversation about what a peace table actually looks like and the benefits of it, and how we can actually get in there and have some peace tables and mental health conversations. Everybody wants a mental health conversation, but nobody's actually having that conversation. So that's where I think in Calgary, I have to get a residence to help out my son again and my grandkids. But it'll be a base to still continue. I still want to be traveling across the country in some way, but in a way that is more productive, I think.
What is a peace table for those people that don't know?
It's a very well structured conversation where two opposing views can find agreement without a compromise. Before a conversation starts, both sides have to realize what it is they want out of the conversation. So that process is, what do you want? Well, I want A. And then you keep asking, well, what do you get when you get A? Well, I get B. What do you get when you get B? Well, you get C. What do you get when you get C? I get D. You keep asking what it is you want and what you get with what you want until you get to a root level. And you'll find both sides of any dispute will always want love and peace. So when you can get people to that stage of realizing they both want the same thing, and to approach this peace table, you have to agree you're wrong about something. So that opens your mind and your perceptions to hearing a different perspective than your own, and that you could be wrong, and you're open to hearing where you could be wrong. But both sides have to be doing that. It has trackers so that people are watching the conversation and looking for triggers. Triggers are really important. They offer information that needs to be shared, but triggers will set off a negative state of being. So that's where trackers would be watching for a trigger. As soon as you're triggered, the conversation is over. You respect that the trigger happened, but you have to get everybody into that positive state. And once everybody's in that positive state, now you can gather more information about the trigger. But you have to honor it. The person that has the trigger, you have to make sure that they are in a loving state and not feeling attacked, and they're able to share what it is they're sharing. The person receiving the information is probably going to get triggered too. So it's a very structured conversation that makes sure that you're constantly in a positive state and you're not focused on the negative aspects. You're just recognizing that this is something that you do not do, and these are the reasons why you don't do it. But you're also gathering information. To say something's wrong is to know what is right. So it is a matter of switching. Once you see and understand the problem, it's switching to, well, what is the solution about it? because now you will be gathering and exchanging different perspectives on solutions, just as you would be sharing different perspectives on a problem. The same thing will happen with a solution. So now you're seeing things that you never thought was possible because you're seeing it through somebody else's eyes that you would never even be able to have a conversation with, regarding that. So it is a process that towards the end, you will find an agreement without a compromise. You do not want to compromise through something like this. You want to keep working at it until you find an agreement.
Very interesting. I love that idea.
Yeah, and if it's you know, if it needs to be improved, then it's an idea that let's just start on it and improve on it. If this is not, a way to improve on our communication skills and there's some flaws with it, then let's recognize the flaws within this peace table process and make improvements on it. I'm open to being wrong with it for the sake of making it even better.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like what I always say, like, if you have an idea, share it because that idea can bounce off with somebody else and it can be something bigger. And, you can talk to somebody about this peace table and they might be like, oh, hey, and they might have an idea to jump in on it. Right. And you never know if it's not going to work if you don't try it.
Exactly. And this is, there's so many families that are getting divorced. This peace table would save marriages because most of the time you just don't know how to communicate. And it gets to a deeper emotional thing when if you really know how to communicate, you can actually turn, a really hateful relationship you have to back to loving somebody that you love them even more because you have more of an understanding with them because this is the first time you've had a real conversation with them. So it saves family, friendships, and then you can get into the political, what's the solution within our communities? Because there's a lot of people, groups doing a lot of great things, but they're dividing within each other. And it's because they just don't know how to communicate and respect that somebody's recognizing, no, you should be aware of this information when you're trying to do something. Otherwise, we're repeating the same problem.
Yeah, I like that idea. And really it's to show like, and then really it helps like take away some of the expectations you may have of yourself or of the other person that you're in, the peace table with. I really like that idea. I hope it really takes off for you.
Well,
so after you leave here, you're going to continue walking. Do you know how long you're going to walk for? What's your plan?
Like I say, I'm going to Calgary. I will be setting up a main base there. From there, I'm hoping to redesign this travel, this journey. It's not ending until everything has changed. Like this is more of a life purpose of just constantly sharing and talking until everything is solved.
Yeah.
Because I got nothing else to do. I'm retired, so it's focused on changing a better world for everybody.
I love it. And I have to say, I absolutely appreciate you doing this because even if it just turns one head, two heads, that is making a difference. And it sounds like you're making conversations everywhere you go. And that is huge. Conversations that would not have happened if you didn't take this walk.
Thank you. I really value hearing that because it is lonely. Like you have your great, really great conversations, but it's nice to hear that it has an effect because that was one thing that I had bigger expectations that it had, hoping to have a bigger effect after I passed BC, and it kind of was really depressing that it wasn't as big as I wanted it to be, or
You don't even
influencing.
know how big of an effect you have yet because it's still early. You may not know the effect you had on the places you've been for another year, like until you see something show up and it's like, oh, that started by a lady named Judy passing through here.
It could be. You're very, very right. And it's like, I know that where I'm at is it's negative and not healthy. I shared something that's just real. Having a negative feeling.
Yeah.
And it does feel good though to hear that there's other people that support a good an idea I think is a good idea. So it's nice. Thank you for saying it.
Oh, absolutely. And I really do mean it. And, you know, having those negative thoughts and feelings aren't always bad because it may spark a new idea or a new spark in you too, right?
Oh, every time. I'm a critic and I am very, very critical of myself. And people can judge it to be a negative, but I will always, always, always turn it into a win. Always. And it is because I've recognized that there's a problem and I don't like it and I'm not satisfied with something. And so it will feel bad because it's not supposed to feel good if I'm not happy with something, right? So it is a way for me to always find a way to make it into a happier direction.
Well, I want to thank you, Judy, for joining us today. I absolutely had a pleasure talking with you, and I must say I can relate and agree with like majority of the shit that you said. So I always love to meet somebody who has not the norm perspective on things, and it just helps give me another perspective to look at as well. So I appreciate you. I appreciate the walking you're doing and the awareness you're putting out there. And I think that the work you're doing really is something, and you're making more of a difference than I think you realize. I know
Making
even
waves.
Isabel found you and she follows you on TikTok, right? And you never knew that, right?
No, this is really surprising. Thank you so much. It's a real pleasure talking with you girls. Like even
Told you
to
you wouldn't
have
sound
the
so
shared
crazy
energy
today.
is so nice. Thank you.
Told you you wouldn't sound so crazy today.
No, it is when you're with like-minded people and sharing what we both all sort of agree on, it's a good
Yeah,
conversation. So I really enjoyed it. I could
absolutely.
talk with you girls for days.
That was me last night with you. I'm like, we could talk for hours, but we both really need some rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I do have to go. I do have a client waiting for me, but I do want to again thank you, Judy, for coming on. I'm definitely going to check out your TikTok and start following you. So accept me because I know you're private.
I will.
And you know, keep up the good work and just always remember, you know, your why of why you're doing this. And I believe that you're going to get that peace table thing happening and make some heads turn if you're not already.
Thank you so much. I
And
appreciate it.
please, if you're ever having a down day and you just need somebody to talk to, please, please, please reach out to both Jennifer and I, or I. We're always here. We're always
Okay.
here. Sometimes it just takes somebody to kind of be like, okay, you're not alone. So
Yeah.
let's keep it going.
Even if you're feeling a little lonely, right? You now
Yeah.
have two new friends.
Thank you so much. Don't be like if you do see me emotionally having emotional down day, I'm usually really good. I'm trying to show people the process of having a bad
Absolutely.
day and this is how you get over it. So I don't want to
Absolutely.
do it to worry people.
No,
I know
but those days are necessary, right?
exactly.
That's where the release comes from. So
Yes.
we release the things that are no longer serving us so that we make room for the things that are. So
Yeah.
those days are necessary. And I know that.
Yeah.
And we all experience them. And so let's put them out there so that we know that we all experience them. Having all of this beautiful
Exactly.
things on TikTok with filters and everything all the time is not reality. And we
No,
always look at this stuff like it is, and it's not. We want to see the real, the raw shit. That's what I want to see anyway. So I want to
that's
thank you
who
for
we
doing
are.
that. Yeah.
That's what you'll get
That's
on
who
mine.
we
I haven't
are.
got time for editing.
Yeah. All right, guys, you heard
Okay.
it here. You've had this lovely story. This lovely Judy has visited us today, and I've had a pleasure meeting and talking with you. And I'm sure you guys all have had a pleasure listening to us, whether you agree with us or not, but that just makes up for more conversation. So I would love to hear whether you agree with us, not agree with us. If you have an idea, an opinion, please come and share it with us. If you have a story of your own, please share it with us. Until next week, all my lovely, lovely, lovelies out there, have a good one. Bye bye.